Welcome to Why I Love, the series where I share with you the movies, TV shows, games or books that I love. So without further ado, let's get on with the episode. Today I'm going to be talking about my favourite game of all time, Life is Strange. There won't be any spoilers in this video, but if you haven't played this game, I highly recommend you go buy it. You can buy it for about £4 or £5 right now, or $5 probably somewhere. And you can play the first episode of it for free on Steam. So even if you don't buy it, I highly recommend you go and play the first episode. Link in the description. So I'm going to be talking about why I love this game so much. And obviously, the main reason that most people love it is the story and characters. They are just absolutely amazing characters. Some people do criticise it for that characters are slightly exaggerated, but I do believe that those exaggerated characters really do add to the story. And furthermore, the main characters are very realistic and aren't exaggerated characters. It's only the side ones which does help to add to the story of the game anyway. The main characters do act like normal people in all the situations they're thrown into throughout the game. So they're stressed in a situation, a near-death situation and so on. And they're also just so likeable. The two main characters, like really close friendship, emanates off of them and makes you just feel really happy when they're really happy. And if you are invested in the characters, it also makes you angry or annoyed when something bad really happens to them. And I will move on to how the choice mechanics in here also help develop that later in the video. But not only the main characters, but also the characters who you would consider evil, in a way. Most of the characters that you would consider evil or not the characters you're rooting for throughout the game are also really understandable. And you can empathise with every single character. You can understand why they act in a certain way and because of their situation they're put in. And that's also brings me on to the things around all the detail around in each part of the game. You can just, in every single room you walk into in the game, every place, there's lots of things to look at and the characters will give slight bits of exposition about it. Or you can read or just look around. And it really helps develop the game world and also develops the other characters. It lets you understand why they're acting in a certain way. You can find out details about their lives or how they're doing at their school, etc., as it is set at like an arts kind of school. And then that makes you feel guilty for your actions later on in the game as you discover certain things about certain characters. As I'm trying to avoid spoilers here, it's quite hard. But as you discover certain things about certain characters, you might feel guilty about some of the decisions you made previously in the game. And then that also just adds really to the replay factor. You really want to go back and try and get the perfect playthrough of the game to make everyone happy. But I've played this game multiple times through. I don't think I've ever made everyone I made all the correct choices perfectly and made everyone happy throughout the game. There's always an element of guilt that you feel because of your decisions, which, although it might make you feel bad, it also is just it shows just how amazing the emotional storytelling throughout this game is. I do want to delve deeper into the story, but I don't want to go into spoiler territory. The villain of the game is really threatening, and I'm saying villain. No one's a villain. It's not a comic book superhero-y kind of game. The person you don't want to win in the game. They're really threatening, really menacing, and that it also, once you discover who the villain character is, once again the details previously in the game, well, you'll look back and realise just how many details there were laying around that you could have helped to discover who it was earlier in the game. And it just really amazes you how detailed and amazing the game world really is. And that's why I think that they managed to also create the prequel game, because everyone wants to explore this world even more after the original game. The only quirk sometimes people have about the characters as their dialogue can be a bit funny sometimes. So some of them will say things that isn't a common thing for people their age to say. I think it just really adds to their personalities, and it's not really a negative thing for me at all. I think that's how much I can say about the story without going into spoilers. But then I'm going to move on to not really the story, but the game's mechanics itself. Firstly, I'll be talking about the choice mechanics in this game. I think it is by far the best choice mechanics in any game that I have encountered, at least. Where your choices will end up backfiring somewhere to someone in the game. As I said previously, it's almost impossible to play through the game making everyone happy and making the best decisions that you think. There's always going to be some kind of sacrifice you have to make. And that shows how powerful this game is. Also, leading off of the choice mechanics, some of the choices you make throughout the game can lead to lots of different dialogue options, even 2 or 3 episodes down the road, because the game is in 5 episodes, 5 parts. And it's just so far on, you even forget you made that decision. And then it ends up backfiring later for you, or it might obviously be the correct decision, and it helps you later in the game as well. The game remembers every single choice you make, and it all compiles it into certain major events throughout the game, that can obviously change your chances of getting the right decisions throughout the entire game. And then, of course, that most of the choices will just change dialogue and certain things like that, but there are some major choices that properly will affect the game world permanently throughout all 5 episodes. And making those decisions, you really have to think about what you want to do. Sometimes you wait for minutes thinking, what decision I want to make here. Obviously you can go back and play through the game again. The game is offering you these 2 massive decisions, and you've got to make a choice that obviously you can see is going to backfire somewhere down the road. And it can be really stressful, really emotional about making these certain decisions. I think Don't Nod is I think that's everything I've got to say about the choices, but those major choices are just extremely, you've got to really think about them. And finally, I'm obviously going to be talking about, this is kind of a spoiler, but it happens right at the beginning of the game. So, literally you can go play for 5 minutes if you want. Most people should probably know this already, or at least it's not really a spoiler. Max, the main character of the story, gets time travel powers right at the start of the game. She doesn't turn into a kind of like a superhero kind of thing. It's not anything like that. It actually works really well and implements really well into the choice mechanics, in that you can make a choice, see the consequences, and then rewind, and then make that choice once again, and try the other option. But quite a lot of the time when you rewind, you find that both choices lead to something negative, and you've still got to try and, you can keep changing and changing and changing, you've got to eventually make that decision. It really adds to Max's character as a person who is really indecisive, and the world has given her this power that can allow her to not make stupid decisions, or at least in other people's eyes. But actually, this ability to make big choices just affects her even more. It really adds to her character of not being able to make decisions and then being forced to make one of 2 decisions. Whereas before, she would just have to make one decision and not know what the other one could have been. Now she feels guilty about the other one if she leaves that choice behind. It's really hard to talk about this game without going into spoilers, but I hope that if you haven't played this game, hope I've convinced you at least to go and play the free episode on Steam. I do personally think that every episode gets better and better. Episodes 3 and 4 I think are the best episodes. But obviously, you've only got that episode 1 to play for free, and it's your decision to make if you want to buy the game. Once again, I highly recommend it. It's my favourite game of all time. Also, the prequel game, I can't really talk about that here because it's referencing things from the original game, but that is also brilliant as well. And I cannot wait for Life is Strange 2 to come out. It's September 26th or something like that. I'll hopefully be getting it for my birthday. So if you have enjoyed this video, or found it informative to go and buy the game, then thank you very much for watching. Mine has been Harry, and goodbye.